So I am back from my trip, and a trip isn't necessarily a vacation. People travel for other reasons than vacation. Anyhow, on the plane, I got to finish this book. I had talked about this book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch before, and I had kind of skipped around, looked at the chapters where I liked the title of the chapter. So I went through and finished the other chapters, and what I can say about book reviews is that depending on what parts of a book that I could give, I can make this sound like the greatest book ever or the worst book ever. Before, when I talked about this book, I gave a lot of his really good insights, because someone who has had this much success on Wall Street definitely will have insights for you. He didn't get to the position he was, and he didn't make the money he did by not knowing things. I mean, he had some skills and he knew things. However, when it comes to investing books, you have to understand there are two things going on. One thing, what is going on at the time of the book being written? And the second thing is, what principles are they telling you are principles that go across time? For example, there's some advice you get on markets that are timeless. There's other advice you get that's only specific to that bull market. For example, when this book was written, there was a many-decade-long real estate boom. And we talked about owning stocks. He said, well, before you own a stock, he's saying you should own a house, because 99% of the time, a house is a moneymaker, and, you know, the housing market, the houses just never go down in value and all that stuff, right? And for a few decades, that was true. And then something happened. So in this book, there is advice being given that I like, that kind of is regardless of a bull or a bear market, and applies to any market. But there is stuff in this book that is only applicable to a certain decade. Like, there are some things he said about stocks that I think only applied to like a 20-year period that he was in. So when it comes to any financial book, you have to be wary. Even a book written today. If there's a book written today, whether it's on precious metals, stocks, bonds, real estate, you have to understand that in just about every case, that author is telling you something, and the author's not going to tell you what is a timeless market of observation that works across all markets, and what is only specific to this market in this period of time, because often the author himself doesn't know. This author is telling us, hey, I had great success, and this is what I did for my great success. The author isn't saying, wait, I had this great success, and that's because this strategy I had just happened to correspond with this big bull market, and if I tried that, 10 years later or 20 years before, I might not have had great success. For example, when he's talking about the real estate, I mean, what he said was not valid for many, many years about the house 99 times out of 100 it being a moneymaker. That's really not true, because there's a time factor. So that's kind of like, I guess my whole lesson of the video, if you want to say it that way, is that in financial advice books, be aware that the person has insight, the person made money, but the person is telling you things, and often they are not able to recognize what is a specific thing they did that was corresponding to this period of years, and what was actually a timeless observation. And there are some authors, it seems, like Jesse Livermore. When I was reading his book about how to pick stocks, it seems that an awful lot of what he said seemed timeless. He did give specifics of certain companies, but it seemed like he had a more timeless observation on how markets work. So it's really up to you to determine these things, because if you read a lot of books, you have to try and figure this out for yourself. I mean, someone could say, hey, Silver Futurist, give us your silver prediction. Well, if you're in that boat, then you're in trouble, because if you're relying on other people's predictions, I mean, you can listen to them. That's a tangent. Okay, so essentially in the last 2 years, if you look at the silver channels, the people who flipped the coin about where silver was going up in the last 2 years were pretty much more accurate than someone in the last 2 years who tried to make a call. But before that, for example, from 2009 to 11, the silver channels were mostly right, because they said the price is going higher, and it did for 2 years. So you got to understand with predictions that it's not a timeless thing. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope to keep learning things.